Hello there, good morning and welcome to Thursday, October 9, 2025. I am Noble Crosby-Annan and this is the news on Newday. Coming up this morning, President John Dramani Mahama to meet with Chief Justice, the Attorney General and other key stakeholders today over continuous wastage of public funds captured in the Auditor General's report. Also this morning, new report indicates that 91,000 Ghanaians are trapped in modern slavery, mainly through human trafficking, forced labor and forced marriages. We'll bring you some sports news as well as the Black Stars thrashed Central African Republic by 5-0 to secure one leg in the next year's World Cup. You're welcome to the program. We're live also on all our social media platforms at TV3 Ghana. Let's get interactive then. Starts the bulletin from here. President John Dramani Mahama is to meet with the Chief Justice, the Attorney General and other key stakeholders on Thursday to discuss what he describes as a final solution to the recurring mismanagement of public funds every year in the Auditor General's report. Now, the President said the meeting will also focus on fast-tracking the prosecution of individuals implicated in such reports.
For 12 years, the Public Services Commission has seen the need to assemble chief executives, chief directors, and board chairs for what could best be described as a means to equip them with good corporate governance practices and effective leadership skills, themed strengthening public sector leadership and governance to enhance service delivery. In the wake of the 24-hour economy, the presidential advisor on the 24-hour economy, Guzi Tano, posited a 90-day reform that CEOs and board chairs must adhere to in attaining the 24-hour economy.
That we as leaders must be digitally capable. Leaders can no longer treat technology as something that is alien to be delegated to younger recruits. We all need to understand data flows, cybersecurity, interfaces, and dashboards well enough to ask the right questions and make the right trade-offs.
The paramount chief of the Sogli traditional area, Togbi Apede, the 14th, stressed the need for innovation and standards from public servants in a challenging economy that is yet to recover.
Transparency requires continuous communication, also requires planning as the ultimate communication tool. And most importantly, as leaders, we need to demonstrate honesty in everything that we do. And the biggest challenge we face is our inability to hold onto the path of strictest honesty. That is what has fueled or allowed corruption to fester. That is why I've always described the oral as one of the most important initiatives of government.
The public sector has been riddled with debt and mismanagement of resources recorded in the Auditor General's report. The figure has attracted rage of the President.
And so I have a meeting on Thursday with the Chief Justice, the Attorney General, and others to find a final solution to this Auditor General's report. That persons who are found guilty of infractions or do not follow due procedure or lead to loss of public resources, we must have a fast-track process to Nsawam. Fast-track, before you see you are in Nsawam, 6 months. You know, until we do that, until there's a deterrent, we're going to come every year and they say total misappropriation and infractions of found out by the Auditor General is about 15 billion cedis. I mean, if we save 15 billion cedis, can you imagine what it could do?
Recruitment into government agencies and its financial clearance has drawn widespread demonstrations in recent time, with some workers agitated over unpaid salaries. The President says the bureaucracies imposed must not be countenanced in the new Ghana he's seeking to reset.
I mean, you can't understand why in the 21st century government does not have a proper database of people that it employs. And so nurses and teachers have to sit for God knows how many months unpaid until some slow bureaucratic process goes from the district to the region, from the region to the headquarters, to Ministry of Finance, to Auditor General. Please, we need an HRMIS as soon as possible.
Let's now bring you some more stories, and the news reaching us from the night of yesterday indicates that President John Dramani Mahama has named some 18 individuals to serve as deputy heads of mission in Ghana's diplomatic missions around the world as part of efforts to strengthen the country's foreign relations and international representation. Now, in a letter dated September 11, 2025, signed by Callistus Mahama, the secretary to the president, and addressed to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the president directed that the necessary steps be taken to facilitate the appointments. I'll walk you through the list. Dr. Palma Apiajan, he's heading towards the Federal Republic of Germany. Francisca Patwa-Jacko to the Swiss Federation. Ben Doche Malo is going to the United States of America. And Harry Zavon, PhD, the People's Republic of China. General Thomas Opompepra, the former CDS, headed towards Canada as a deputy there, and Suleimana Ibn Idrisu, the Republic of India. Aquinas Kwanzaa, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. Some more names: George Harrison, Republic of Korea. Jamilatu Amadou to the United Arab Emirates. Emmanuel Nechia Fedo to the Netherlands. Sophia Karen Edem Akwaku, the Italian Republic. Francis Thalamos Do to Japan. Jani Jaja, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. There's also Kojo J. Jumot, the Republic of Turkey, as part of names in the list. Plus, Emmanuel Kamban Payan, Russian Federation. Alhaji Mohammed Seidu Isa Abba, the Republic of South Africa. Mohammed Ibn Chambers, Arab Republic of Egypt. And Reverend Isaac Clive Mode, PhD, to the Kingdom of Denmark. Let's bring you some more stories this morning as the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Gbagwin, has announced that Parliament will officially resume sitting on Tuesday, October 21. Now, this was in a statement issued and signed by the Speaker, indicating that the meeting will begin at 2 p.m. at the Parliament House. And this follows an earlier notice issued on October 6th this year, which deferred the original commencement date. It will be the third meeting of the first session of the 9th Parliament of the Republic of Ghana, and is expected to see members of Parliament return from recess to consider key national matters, including pending bills, motions, and government policy statements. The Speaker gave notice of the new date for the start of parliamentary business in accordance with Order 58 of the Standing Orders of Parliament. Away from Parliament to some rather sad news. 2 nannies have been arrested for allegedly giving sleep-inducing drugs to their employer's 2-year-old twin sons and subjecting them to various abuses, such as heating their hands in fire. Now, they administered the medication to the toddlers to make them sleep for extended hours so they could attend to other house chores. Christian Yali has more.
One of the suspects, Francisca Boache, aged 30, is a student nurse from Konongo in the Ashanti region. Her accomplice, Harriet Ansah, aged 31, is from Jasikan in the Oti region. Both admitted to mixing the drugs in the children's food and calling them derogatory names over the past 8 months of working for their employer.
The businesswoman, a 40-year-old who is a complainant, reported to the police that she had observed unusual drowsiness and behavioral changes in her 2 sons during the month of September 2025. Now, subsequent inquiries revealed that the nannies had been administering a medication suspected to be used in their daily milk for the past 7 to 8 months. And they do this without the consent of the employer, that is the complainant. And this, they say, makes the children sleep for extended hours so they could attend to other house chores. Police investigations has further revealed that one of the accused persons, Harriet Ansah, who has administered to mixing the drugs or the suspected substance in the children's food, claims she inherited the practice from her colleague Francisca Boache. She also confessed to subjecting the children to other forms of abuse, including hitting their heads with fire and calling them derogatory names such as chimpanzee, amongst others.
A police search in the accused person's room led to the retrieval of the suspected substances used in the acts.
all of these exhibits have been retained for forensic examination. Both accused persons have since been cautioned, charged with the appropriate offences, and have been remanded into police custody to reappear on the 20th of October 2025.
The Accra Regional Police Command, while condemning inhumane acts against children, has urged parents and guardians to remain vigilant in the supervision of domestic staff. Christian Yali, TV3 News.
Now, the Health Facilities Regulatory Agency, HEFRA, has shut down 17 unlicensed health facilities operating in the Greater Accra region for various infractions. The exercise being undertaken within the region, according to the CEO of HEFRA, Dr. Winfred Barr, will continue in other regions in the country to ensure the system is sanitized.
It is a nationwide campaign to ensure the safety of the general public in accessing quality health care during their vulnerable moment. Starting from the Greater Accra region, 17 health provider facilities have so far been shut down in an exercise which started on Monday, October 6th. These are facilities either operating without licenses or have defaulted in renewing their licenses for years. With assistance from the police, officials from the Health Facilities and Regulatory Authority were able to enforce their mandate. Managers of some of the facilities tried to resist the action as patients seek their services. The manager of the Accra Mall branch of the Life Healthcare Center, which had 3 of its branches closed in the exercise, Harry Glover, is mindful of their actions.
He said you've not done the inspection, which we are in line to do the inspection. We fill the forms, everything is waiting for them to do the inspection. But he said we've paid our retention till date. So they said retention is different from inspection. It's about the renewal of the license. Because we showed them first they said we should show any license we have. We showed it. They now say we should show the renewal. We showed the renewal. They said they've not done inspection. So we are waiting for the inspection. So we are going to the offices to sort out the issues over there.
But CEO of the regulatory body, Dr. Winfred Barr, affirms the authority's commitment to ensure the system is sanitized.
Recently, we've noticed that a lot of facilities are operating either without license or some with expired licenses. And this is against the law. Those who have not renewed their licenses, we gave them what we call administrative fines and gave them within 2 weeks to regularize their operations. Some of them did, they paid their administrative fines and they initially registered, we did licensing for them and they are okay. A few of the facilities have been very recalcitrant.
He further cautioned all unlicensed health facilities to do the needful or risk a shutdown.
Once your facility is not licensed, we are not sure of what is going on there. We don't know whether you have the right personnel, equipment, and the processes to provide care to patients who enter your facility. Once that happens, it means that we have to come and then close it down. The Health Facilities Regulatory Agency is undergoing what we call a reset. We want to position ourselves to do what we have been set up to do.
Established under Part 1 of the Health Institutions and Facilities Act 2011, Act 829, HEFRA is mandated to register, inspect, license, and monitor all health facilities and determine the minimum and basic equipment and personnel required for practice and service delivery to ensure better health outcomes.
Now, modern slavery has risen sharply by 10 million in just 5 years, taking the numbers to 50 million people worldwide. And pressure is mounting on government to act as 91,000 Ghanaians are trapped in modern slavery, mainly through human trafficking, forced labor, and forced marriages.
Out of the 50 million victims worldwide, 22 million are in forced marriages, with 12 million children making up the most vulnerable. The 2023 Global Slavery Index report highlights the industries where modern slavery is most prevalent: fishing, gold mining, cocoa farming, commercial sex work, domestic labor, and street begging. At the Faith in Action Modern Slavery Conference, Director of Operations at Walk Free, Catherine Bryan, urged governments to enforce penalties against perpetrators of forced marriage.
In Ghana and across Africa, we see that exploitation takes many forms. We see in some countries girls as young as 9 being forced to marry. Across some countries there is no legal age of marriage, and that leaves there is a loophole in the legislation. Governments, businesses, NGOs, faith leaders, they all have a role to play to tackle modern slavery.
Head of the Global Freedom Network, Franca Pellegrini, called on governments, religious leaders, and civil society organizations to unite in the fight against modern slavery.
Collaboration is non-negotiable. No single faith, organization, or government can end slavery alone. Interfaith solidarity, cross-sector partnerships, and survivor leadership are essential. Faith leaders, let your pulpit be a platform for freedom. Civil society, continue to innovate and reach the margins. Survivors, your leadership is essential.
Spokesperson for the Chief Imam, Sheikh Arimiyah Shaibu, emphasized the need to challenge cultural beliefs and practices that influence modern slavery.
The greatest affront to the human dignity is to keep any human being in bondage, in slavery. Some of the practices trace their roots into culture, tradition, and beliefs. And so we need to really, as scholars, also sit down and challenge some of those beliefs and practices and mentalities that give rise to modern, or give legitimacy to modern slavery. I think the first thing to do is to really work with state institutions to ensure that we have, where people have legitimate need to travel and migrate and go and do some work, there must be law and regulations that ensures their protection, especially in their human rights.
Stakeholders believe with collective action, accountability, and compassion, exploitation can end.
Now, barely a month after being released on bail by an Accra Circuit Court over charges of publication of false news and offensive conduct due to the breach of peace, NPP Bono Regional Chairman Kwame Bafo, also known as Abronya DC, has been picked up again. Abronya was rearrested on Wednesday, October 8th, and charged with publication of false news with intent to create fear and panic and offensive conduct with insulting, and has been granted a bail of 1 million with 2 sureties. He has since met his bail conditions and has been released from the CID police headquarters. Now, this will be the second time the NPP Bono chair is being arrested in a space of 3 weeks. This is still the news on Newday. Let's bring you some more stories now, as the Upper West Regional Police Command has announced a major breakthrough in its investigation into a series of murder cases recorded in the region since 2021. 2 suspects, Sheriff Abdullahi, 30-year-old, and Muhammadu Lamin, 25, have been arrested in connection with gruesome murders. Correspondent Ibrahim Wangara has been following this report. He brought us the story, and we'll play that to you later.
According to the police, the suspects are believed to be behind 50 murder cases recorded in the region between 2021 and 2022, including the recent murder of a watchman, Issa Yahaya, at Wadobile on September 21, 2025. The victims were mostly security men who were attacked while on duty and either strangled to death or suffered head injuries from being hit in the head with blocks. The breakthrough came after weeks of intense intelligence work, and the suspects were arrested on October 3 and October 6, 2025. ACP Francis Yiribare is the Upper West Regional Police Commander who sheds light on the arrest.
After weeks of intense intelligence, we have successfully arrested 2 suspects, Sharif Abdullahi, aged 30 years, and Muhammad Lamin, also aged 25 years, who are believed to be linked to these incidents of murders all over the municipality. The suspects later admitted during interrogation that he has killed 15 people in the Wa municipality since 2021. He further noted that he usually targets watchmen and mentally challenged persons. He confessed that he had killed 3 more mad men and 2 watchmen at Bole in the Savannah region, and a further 1 mad man in Banda and Kwanta, also in the Savannah region.
Before we leave this morning, Black Stars thrashed Central African Republic by 5-0 to secure 1 leg in next year's World Cup. Michael Otieje has more.
It's been a beautiful day. 5-star performance from the Black Stars, earning them victory over Central African Republic. It's victory that in all certainty will take Black Stars to the World Cup. Before this particular round of matches, the Black Stars had a positive goal difference of +6. They're taking that into double numbers. No way Madagascar catches the Black Stars. The goals scored by Mohamed Salisu in the first half, provided from a cross by Mohamed H. And then in the second half, after Madagascar had come into the game a bit, in the second part of the second half, Ghana stepped on the accelerator and took absolute control of the game, driven forward by the creativity and leadership of the captain of the side, Jordan. So Jordan was the one who set up Thomas Partey for one of the goals. Jordan set up people to head in another one. Then Jordan himself scored one before Kamadi Sulemana, the substitute, scored from a Joseph Benson assist. It was a dominant Black Stars performance, a dominant team performance. Of course, there were star performances like Mohamed Kudus in the first half, Jordan Ayew with the goals and double assists in the second half, a solid defensive display as always by the back line, including Chiku and Salisu, a central defensive partnership, both scoring. It's been a really, really good goal. And at this stage, it looks pretty obvious. The Black Stars are heading to another World Cup. 20 years after qualifying for the first World Cup, the Black Stars are heading to another World Cup. They're heading to the USA, to Mexico, and to Canada. And an evidence of this display, they are likely to get in this team. So Sunday at the Accra Sports Stadium, it will be more than a football match. It will be a celebration of World Cup qualification. I can't wait to imagine the atmosphere. I can't wait to.
Congratulations to the Black Stars again. But that's it for the news on Newday. There's more news on our website, 3news.com. My name is Noble Crosby, and good morning.
I don't like this one. Play Blaster song. Play Blaster song. It's a protest. If you don't play Blaster, we don't go start. Find Rihanna, play Blaster song.
Wow, 5-0.
Kudus day. If you don't play, I will not go start. Good morning to Chairman Godwin Tama, Group Chief Executive for the Red Group. Now you are welcome. Wait. Blaster score 5-0. We dey go work up. Find the song. Kudus day. Good morning.
I missed you.
I missed myself too. How are you? How are you? I saw you on TikTok and then Facebook. I thought you were in the UK. Then all of a sudden you went to WA.
Yeah.
Because you asked me of Ibrahim Wangare's contact details. That's our original correspondent there. And then I didn't know what you were up to.
You know, I need to give a major shout.
You are a woman of many shades. How you do that, I don't know. Spider Woman. How are you? Welcome.
I need to give big shouts to Ibrahim Wangara, our correspondent in WA, for being a fantastic host. I was in WA.
I said it.
From
amazing.
Sunday.
Say amazing too.
From Sunday, participating in the Girls in ICT training program organized by the Ministry of Communications, and they've trained over 1,000 girls in coding using Scratch, HTML, website development, and so on. And it was an amazing 2-day event in WA. But I have to give major shouts. So I have a lot of shouts to give. Major shouts to Ibrahim Wangara, our regional correspondent, amazing host. Shouts to Rafiq Salam.
Wow. Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Shouts to Gloria.
You know, Beatrice and I used to work with him at Joe. Rafiq Salam. Wow. He's like a whole vibe, and he has a whole office.
In the ministries. Like he's I love the guy. It was such an honor to meet him.
I mean, when I was in WA, he treated me like a queen.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Because even here, I treat you like a queen.
Oh, please.
Oh, baby, man.
Please stop that. Please.
Yeah, so,
please
I
stop
mean, he's
that.
an amazing guy. Yes.
Nobody believes that. Nobody believes that.
I'm romantic.
But he's amazing. He gave me a ride in his very lovely vehicle around.
Is it that big 4x4?
The big 4x4, yes, at the back.
Yes.
We had a lovely chat, and it was really good. So good morning to everybody watching us from the Upper West region. Thank you for hosting me and treating me to good kose and janjaga. Kose and janjaga.
Okay.
It's kose mixed with vegetables. So after they fry the kose with their hands, they mash the kose and then they put in cabbage, pepper, onions.
Oh, wow.
And then
Did you do that for your TikTok?
Yeah.
Let me see.
It's called janjaga. It was really good.
Cocoa?
No, you eat it like that. But I had mine with chilled Milo.
What can you have?
Yeah, such a local dish.
Well, and also a very special good morning to Honorable Kuzor, the MCE of Leje Kuku. Special good morning to you and all the good work you're doing for the people of our constituency in Teshi. Anyway, so I'm back. I missed you all so much.
Yeah, I missed you too.
And we're back to continue
this
the
Ibrahim,
work we're doing.
Ibrahim Wangara. You're behind Ibrahim Wangara's motorbike.
I sat on his motorbike and he drove me around.
And so who were you talking to here?
Yeah, that's Auntie Monica. She's the Kosi and Janjaga seller.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Did she give it to you for free?
Oh, great.
No, it was 5 CDs.
I need to be doing more of these videos. And then you were entering into a tree back.
Yeah. So this is a baobab tree that has. God, I can't tell you. I did a full report on this tree.
Fantastic.
Which will air, I'm sure, by Friday.
By Friday.
But it's a baobab tree that has.
Today's Friday, or?
No, today's Thursday.
Oh, I thought the week is
Today is Thursday.
I want to enjoy the weekend.
Friday.
I want to enjoy
because
the weekend.
you want to sing today be Friday, Miniano. But anyway, back to the show. We have a packed show for you today, and we're starting off with some very unfortunate news that we heard yesterday about 2 nannies who have been feeding twin boys sleeping pills or some substance which makes the children fall asleep. They've been giving the children these drugs for several months until their mother, who's a businesswoman, reported to the police because she noticed that her children were a little too drowsy and were not acting like they should. Apparently, they've also been meting out some inhuman treatment to the boys, heating their hands with fire, and so on. This opens a conversation about nannies, parents, and the care for our little ones. A lot of working parents employ nannies and trust them to be able to take care of their children. But every day we hear these harrowing tales. If you have some to share, would like to hear it. And if you have any recommendations on how parents can do better, you let us know. And Beatrice, you'll continue the conversation.
Yes, we'll continue the conversation on the big issue. And of course, the other worrying situation about people not wanting to accept postings to rural areas. So you have about 68% of a teacher vacancy in the northern part of the country. So really how this is affecting children, because every child per our laws is supposed to enjoy quality education. And I mean, the same as those in the capital city. So we'll look at the ramifications as well and really how dire the situation is on the ground. Yes.
All right. Well, we also have sports. And
yes, and the Black Stars 5-0 it was, and we had Salisu opening the score line. Yesterday I predicted 5. I didn't think it would go to. I said 3. I said 3. Yeah, I didn't think it was going to go to 5. All of a sudden, I had Sherry Giovanni send me a message that Charlie, my prediction has come. I saw it is 4. Then by the time I saw
5,
and Delight Mojaka kept giving me the updates from Live Score up and down, telling me, hey, Charlie, this is what is happening, and Ghana is likely to qualify, even if we lose by just a slim margin the next match.
Yeah.
And I said, how did that happen?
Yeah.
You know,
We're
that's
back.
a good thing because we have some of the best players
So we have
in Africa.
Perhaps overqualified. Since we scored 5.
Well, you can't say that. In a way.
I wish you could take some of those goals
Yeah.
and you know, keep them for the next matches, but it doesn't work like that. Anyway, it's now time for This Morning. Yeah, I didn't...
This woman, a 40-year-old who is a complainant, reported to the police that she had observed unusual drowsiness and behavioral changes in her 2 sons during the month of September 2025. Now, subsequent inquiries revealed that the nannies had been administering a medication suspected to be used in their daily milk for the past 7 to 8 months. And they do this without the consent of the employer, that is the complainant. And this, they say, makes the children sleep for extended hours so they could attend to other house chores. Police investigations has further revealed that one of the accused persons, Harriet Ansah, who has administered to mixing the drugs or the suspected substance in the children's food, claims she inherited the practice from her colleague Francisca Boache. She also confessed to subjecting the children to other forms of abuse, including hitting their heads with fire and calling them derogatory names such as chimpanzee, amongst others. These exhibits have been retained for forensic examination. Both accused persons have since been cautioned, charged with the appropriate offences, and have been remanded into police custody to reappear on the 20th of October 2025.
Very heartbreaking news, if you ask me. And I'm sure all mothers, parents watching who have nannies would be concerned. This is not the first time we're hearing a story like this. I mean, we see it on mom groups and social groups on social media, but hearing this particular story has opened the conversation on the presence of parents in the upbringing or caring of their little ones, the use of nannies, which has become almost impossible to do away with now, and really how to ensure that these things don't happen. Our phone lines are now active. You can join us. I think our first caller just joined us.
Yes, Collins is on the line. Good morning to you, Collins. Thank you so much for joining us. Tell us where you're calling us from and what's on your mind.
Yeah, Beatrice, good morning. My name is Collins. As you said, I'm calling from Amamole.
Amanone?
No, Amamole.
Amamole.
A-M-A.
Collins, it's okay. Collins, we got you. Amamole.
M-O-R-L-E-Y. Amamole.
Thank you so much, sir. Just tell us what's on your mind.
Yes, it's in the Janoff Municipal in Accra here.
Yes, sir. Please tell us what's on your mind.
Yes, I will go straight to this recruitment, military recruitment. You see, our young men and women are crying. And you see, across all over about the age, nobody is saying something that they should bring party supporters or full soldiers into it. But the age is too limited. The age is too limited. If somebody is almost 30 or 28, it's not an old woman or old man.
Collins,
it's a young man. Yes.
Thank you for your concern, but do you have anything to say on what we are talking about today?
I know, but this one too is very important for the nation. Thank you.
Okay, we lost Collins there. Thank you so much for calling and sharing your thoughts with us.
Yeah, but let's stick to the subjects when you call us. Let's stick to the subjects. There'll be opportunities to discuss the other things as we go. Let's stick to the subjects. We're talking about the news that broke about the two nannies who have consistently, for some months now, been dragging twin boys. And they say they do this so that they would have the chance to do other work while the boys slept. The mother, who's a businesswoman, found out in the month of September and reported to the police. Let us know what you make of this story and if you have similar experiences to share. Alaji has just joined us on the phone lines. Hello, Alaji.
Hello, Ina.
Yes, sir.
That's your call.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Oh, fine. Runa Deswa.
Nah. Tabrula.
Nah, Tigia.
Gombian.
This is Deswa.
All right, Alaji, what do you make of this story?
First of all, let me send my greetings to you and Shamima Muslim, and he has Alaji Alasan and Chairman Ofus Ampo for Chief of Staff, Honorable Julius Ebra. When you look about this story, I think we need to look it well. Because, but I did not talk about the Ghana Blaster winning yesterday. Yesterday, why did I tell you, Roland? But because I don't know, Ghana Blaster have a match. I don't know.
You didn't know?
Yes.
Okay, well, we had the match and we scored 5-0. But let's come back to the subject matter. All right, we've lost Alaji on the line. You can also call us. Please, let's stick to the subjects when we call, okay? And by the way, I've come back with 10,000 Ghana cedis. 10,000 Ghana cedis. And Roland has just given us clearance to also add some bonuses. Cash out this morning. Down now. *439 #. *439 #. This is the time to dial. And for those who win, they tell us that if you do this, if you would play before big issues, your chances are high, all right? So play now. And we are playing a minimum of 30 times today. So dial *439 #. Select option 2 for TV3. You can win 1,000 cedis. I've got 10,000. I'm giving it to 10 of you. And Roland says we should add some bonuses. The bonus, how much are you giving to me? 300?
200 Ghana
200
cedis.
cedis.
Per person?
Okay.
Oh,
per bonus.
Wow.
Right. So 200 cedis to as many people as possible. Today, dear, we're sharing the money.
Yeah.
So down now, *439 # and win. We have a caller joining us.
Yes, from WA. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. Tell us what's on your mind.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Abdul Manan from WA.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Let me use this opportunity to say good morning to all of you in the studio and the viewers and listeners. And then to say these days people entrust their nannies and caretakers without knowing much about them. Coach, some of them, how they live their life is not good. Because if they are giving these kids those sleeping pills in order for them to sleep, and they will also do other things, if not because the mother was able to detect it, at the end of the day, he may lose all the kids. Which I think is very, 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 very bad. It's not good at all. So I think it's better you get a person which is either from the man's family or you, the woman, either a sister, daughter, or somebody. That would be better than getting someone you don't know. And then let me use this opportunity to say thank you to the Bastard yesterday for making us proud.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing those views.
You see, it's really not a question of hiring a family member.
Okay.
You really can't tell you really can't tell, because these nannies, before you hire them, you must trust them. I mean, you would have met the person, you would have spoken to the person, and you would have felt that, you know, they're good people. You feel comfortable enough to leave your children with them. It is after you leave that they will probably do whatever they want to do. But you can't tell, you know, from the interview or from meeting them. And this person has obviously stayed with them for a long time, and there are two of them. It's just sheer wickedness. Yeah. There are two of you and two children, and you must drag them so that you can do other work. That's just sheer wickedness. You know, raising children is the grace of God. I'm feeling emotional about it. Am I not?
I see that you're very much touched with the topic as well.
Yeah.
But it's a very emotive thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have Awuni Richmond on the line. Good morning to you, Mr. Awuni. Thank you so much for joining us. Just tell us where you're calling us from.
Please, my name is Awuni Richmond from Upper East Region.
Yes, sir. What do you think of what we're discussing this morning?
Yes, please. Please, sometimes I want to say something about the mother of the children and sometimes to the nannies, because sometimes the package we tell them that, oh, maybe you come and take care of my children for me. This is what I'm going to do for you. Then at the end of the day, if those things are not coming, it can lead or it can make the person to start behaving bad. And then secondly, sometimes the work overload on the nannies always make them to rather do those things for the children to sleep so that they will be able to carry the activities of the day, which is very bad. So I will advise the parents to maybe sometimes reduce the burden, or let me say the work overload. Like at least they can do this day after day, they can be doing them. But a day, if you tell them that I'll do this, do that, you are supposed to prepare food, go and pick children from school, do this. The work is overload. So if the person happens to get something to give it to them in order for them to sleep, to achieve the activities of the day, that's what will happen. And sometimes too, it's good we also come back to the house early in order to at least get time for our children, not to go to work. By the time you come, the children are already sleeping. You don't even know whether they have eaten, they haven't eaten, whether they bath them, whether it's not also helping. It's not helping. So I'll advise the parents to also get time always to be with their children, to see what their children is going through, the food they are even giving them. Is it nutritious? Is it like how she's expected them to give the food to the children or not? So that's what I'll add. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Richard, for calling us from Upper East Region. Now, I mean, you have children. I don't know whether what he's saying is realistic, really.
Look, I'll just say it's difficult. You know, it's difficult for young parents nowadays to keep up with the work, with the children, and everything in between. But you'd have a more extensive discussion on this with the women on big issues. But Johnny Hughes has just joined us, and he's on standby with Johnny's Bite.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? And yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup runneth over, and surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever and ever. Amen. Assalamu alaikum. It's Thursday, the 9th of October in 2025, the year of our Lord. Welcome to Johnny's Bite. Let me begin by saying thank you to all of you, our listeners and our viewers who will be on TV and those who connect with us on radio and online. You could have been anywhere in the world listening to something else or watching something else, but you decide every morning to come here and have breakfast with us. So to the trotro drivers, to the taxi drivers, to the market women, to the bankers, the lawyers, the doctors, the engineers, all the big people at the top whose name I can't mention, to the priests, the pastors, to the entrepreneurs, to the school children, to traditional leaders, to traditionalists, to farmers, fishermen, every one of you we appreciate you and we say thank you very much indeed for coming through for us every morning as we shape the minds of the nation, as we tell the people the truth, as we let you know, for some of you, what you miss or what you might have missed. And it's important that we keep that conversation properly put together. Also this morning, I should like to say a very big thank you to Sonar Fashions in Tamale for my outfit. And Sonar Fashions is reachable on 0246 590 162. 0246 590 162, and you can always get Sonar Fashions in Tamale to make something special for you and yours. Now, having spoken about Sonar Fashions, let me tell you about the latest international university in town. It's in Ghana. It's from South Africa. It has accreditation from the South African Authority. It also had accreditation from It also has accreditation from City and Guilds. It also has accreditation from the GTech here in Ghana. It also has accreditation from all the institutions that is supposed to have accreditation from. And the conversation about them is that they have the state-of-the-art facilities, and you should visit the facility. It's in the Opebia building. It's called the Rosebank International University. The Rosebank International University. The classrooms are cozy. The facility is you should see it, and I call it the adult Montessori. It's anchored on the community. It will build you to become a global citizen, and the Rosebank International University College will also afford you an opportunity. If you study locally and thrive globally, you would find jobs out there, or you can create your own. It's a chance to elevate your potential. They have elevated degrees right from undergraduate to PhD level. Is a Rosebank International University, expert-led lecturers and a thriving student community. They inspire excellence, and that's what you should never ever miss. So you can always reach them on their phone numbers and their websites. That's if you're reaching them from outside Ghana, +233 307 007 800. +233 307 007 800, or www.riuc.edu.gh, and the Inspire Excellence. That's what the Ad Tech group in South Africa. And I recommend this to you because we are moving in a certain direction. So you can just walk into their campus at the Opebia building on the airport stretch in Accra and have a tour of the place. Admissions are up now for January 2026, and you should not miss this opportunity. Now, having said that, we want to also give the Black Stars of the Republic of Ghana their flowers, even though in the past and on many different occasions they have broken our hearts. But yesterday, they whipped their counterparts, the Madagascans, 5-0. They whipped them 5-0. In fact, when the first round started, or the first half started, we were all, thinking, hey, only one goal, what could possibly happen? So we were worried. And then the second half came. Even then, we were, doing hanky-panky. And then second goal, third goal, fourth goal, fifth goal, and that was it. So congratulations to the Black Stars of the Republic of Ghana. Now, people are asking questions whether this should justify why Otoado should lead. And that's a beautiful cartoon by Tilapia. But people are asking questions. Should we still use Otoado, or should we forget about Otoado? So Otoado's head is on the chopping board because the Minister for Youth and Sports, or the Minister for Sports, and the new name, I skipped my mind a bit, but the Minister for Youth and Sports, Sport and Recreation, the MP for Boehm, is the Member of Parliament for Boehm, and he is the Minister for Sports and Recreation, Kofi Idi Adams, MP. He said, look, the coach's performance has not been, what we have been expecting. So I'm sure that in his mind, he may want to change him. But will this change Mr. Kofi Adams' mind about Coach Otuado? And if the Black Stars do qualify for the World Cup in next year, will Otuado be the best man to lead us there? It's a conversation that we have. While we congratulate them, we also want to ask these questions. It's very, very important that we do. And for those of us who are not too enthusiastic about sports, we can only sit and watch. For those of you who are sports people, to ask the questions, and later we will have that conversation here. Since yesterday we spoke about a man who gave a policeman a headbutt. And I want to congratulate the Ghana Police Service and the other institutions that are working. And we will come to some of the other institutions. So I saw this somewhere. I'm told it happened somewhere around Garu. And I put it out there and called on the Ghana Police Service to take action. Because if action is not taken, it will be normalized. And this is not the first time that somebody has attempted to beat a policeman or whatever it is, or a man in uniform. Let me put it that way. And the police responded immediately after the show. They put out a post on their official Facebook page, which I found commendable. Now let's read the statement that the police put out yesterday relative to this. That you can maybe applaud the policeman for not deciding to defend himself by also putting his Kalashnikov into full action. Because he could have done that if he felt that he was outnumbered and his life was under threat. But you could clearly see, for whatever reason, I don't know. And I know that the experts at the Ghana Police Service, COP Donko, Lydia Donko and a team, very crack team of investigators, will do a great job. And this is from the regional headquarters, Ghana Police Service, Bolgatanga in the Upper East region. It's dated the 7th of October 2025. It's a press release. And this was posted just a few minutes after we had done with Johnny's Bite. I don't know if to call it a scorecard or to leave it there. But police on manhunt for suspect who assaulted officer at Garu. The Upper East Regional Police Command has commenced investigations into an incident in which a police officer was assaulted by a commercial tricycle rider at the Garu in the Upper East region. The incident occurred on the 6th of October 2025 when the officer and community protection assistants, CPAs, were conducting stop and search operations along the Garu-Nankpanturi road. The team intercepted a tricycle loaded with sacks of groundnut and passengers sitting on top. When the officer instructed the rider to stop and park properly for inspection, he became aggressive and attacked the officer. The suspect has fled the scene on his tricycle. Efforts are underway to arrest the tricycle rider and ensure he faces the full rigors of the law. Signed, Chief Inspector Abdul Rahman Sumalia. He's a Public Affairs Department person at the Upper East Regional headquarters of the Ghana Police Service. And I think this is commendable. And you'd agree with me that lately or recently, the police has been forthcoming with a lot of information about how they are progressing in their investigations. In fact, yesterday or so, there was a press conference, and it's regular. So you are updated about who has been arrested and what processes they have been taking through, etc. And I think that for me, that is also good. And I would use that opportunity to congratulate the institutions that are delivering on their mandate. For example, the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operation Security, NIMOS, the task force. They are doing a yeoman's job moving from place to place. The latest one I'm told is the river and Cobra. You have people at the port, for example, Brigadier General Poseidu, doing a yeoman's job, and I never knew that the 24-hour economy. I thought people were just making, comments about it. But somebody took me to the port at night, and they were working. And for those of you who know, in the past, by 4:35, everybody is preparing to leave and go home. So people are actually doing some work, and they must be commended, which is why I insist and agree with the people who also say that if somebody has been given an appointment or a position and the person is not performing, kick the person out. It is not a family inheritance, because we have seen it in this country before. People were not performing, but were kept there because we liked it. And I will refer this again and say that was why Ghanaians voted against the previous government. The sins of the previous government must not be repeated by this government. If not, the defeats that the previous government faced will be worse for you if the elections are fought and won or lost. So I'm sure that the powers that be and the appointing authorities are listening, because these are sentiments that are coming from the streets, as I like to put it. And the streets know. Now, another institution that is doing some good work, and please find me TDC boss, is also doing some good work, I'm told. Very, very good work, and we need to celebrate him. And then also, take me to HEFRA, in fact, the Health Facilities Regulatory Authority. Dr. Ban is doing a great job cracking down on people, and with Miss Nuhoho and the rest of the team who work at HEFRA, they're doing a job as they ought to do, because HEFRA, as a health regulatory facility authority, right, must be up and doing for all our sakes. Because if I walk into a lab, or I walk into a hospital or another health facility where I know that I'm going to get quality health care, but the facility doesn't have the requisite license, you can just imagine what could possibly happen to me if there are quacks in there. You could just understand. Look, find me that SOT, and let's play Dr. Ban's SOT from HEFRA on the crackdown.
Recently, we've noticed that a lot of facilities are operating either without license or some with expired licenses. And this is against the law. Those who have not renewed their licenses, we gave them what we call administrative fines, and gave them within 2 weeks to regularize their operations. Some of them did. They paid their administrative fines, and they initially registered. We did licensing for them, and they are okay. A few of the facilities have been very recalcitrant, and they have not paid their administrative fines. They have also not taken steps to get a license. Once your facility is not licensed, we are not sure of what is going on there. We don't know whether you have the right personnel, equipment, and the processes to provide care to patients who enter your facility. Once that happens, it means that we have to come and then close it down. The Health Facilities Regulatory Agency is undergoing what we call a reset. We want to position ourselves to do what we have been set up to do, and to protect the public against dangerous practices.
So
recently,
another of the people who are doing a great job, like Dr. Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa and a couple of others, Dr. Atufosin, Haruna Idrisu, Kwame Agboja, some of them, you can actually see them moving and doing something. So the rest must also come with their scorecard and show working, because we want to see actual work, not talk and paper leadership. We don't want to see that. We actually want to see some real work happening on the ground, because the conversation is about bettering the lives of the people and making them comfortable. So if you are giving that opportunity to come in there, to come and be a CEO or a board chairman or a council chair or whatever it is that you are giving the opportunity to hold on to, and we don't see the results, or you don't find a way to tell your story, then there will be a problem. Kwabena Mintah Kando, for example, doing a great job. The only point that I may disagree with them is that this HPV, vaccination, I didn't see a lot of public sensitization and education about it. But so we have the same conversation about what happened during COVID when people told their families and friends not to go and take the vaccine and all of that. But if you listen to the mindset behind it and the concept and the intention and everything else, it's a good thing. He's moving left, right, center, working with all the patients that you can find. MP for Dwaboso Kwabena Mintah Kando. But I think that there should have been a lot more public education and sensitization before this started. And I'm saying this on good authority because between 2001 and 2005, I participated actively in the National Immunization Days. I used to carry that, ash, box, the ice box. I used to carry that. And we'll be roaming the entire North Kaneshie, Okankwe South. Those who know, they know. Those who know, the nurses and the doctors that we worked with, they know. Our friends from WHO, UNICEF, all of that, they know what I'm talking about. So that sensitization happens prior to the immunization. So when you get to the children's schools, or you get to the churches, or you come to do mop-up, as we used to call it, whether for measles or for vitamin A and vitamin A and polio and all of those things, you have the full support. Now, yesterday a list was released, a deputy heads of missions, and we'll go through the list quickly, and I'll tell you my 2 cents, please. So I write to inform you that the President of the Republic has appointed the following persons as deputy heads of missions: Dr. Palmer Apia-Jan, Federal Republic of Germany; Francisca Pepra-Jaco, Swiss Federation; Ben Doche Malo, United States of America. Uncle Ben, good morning to you. Harry Sevon, PhD, the People's Republic of China; General Thomas Opon Pepra, Canada; Suleiman Ibn Idrisu, Republic of India; Aquinas Kwanzaa, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. Shatta, good morning to you. George Harrison, Republic of Korea; Jamila Amadou, United Arab Emirates; Emmanuel Neti Afedo, the Netherlands; also Sophia Karen Edem Akwaku, the Italian Republic; Francis Doe is to Japan; and Sani Jaja is to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Kwejo Ajay Jomo is Republic of Turkey. Emmanuel Payan, I hope I got that right, sorry about that, is Russia Federation. And Alhaji Mohammed Seidu Isa Abba, Republic of South Africa. And Mohammed Ibn Abbas, Arab Republic of Egypt. And Reverend Isaac Clive Mould, PhD, the Kingdom of Denmark. Kindly take the necessary steps to facilitate the appointment process for the persons listed above. Please accept the President's highest regards. Callistus Mahama, PhD, Secretary to the President. Copy to the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Vice President, and the Chief of Staff. So that's what we have there. And let me also make special mention of the Foreign Affairs Minister and the Minister for the government spokesperson, Phyllis Kwachu Fosu, all the guys. Samjata George, yes. The data, no. Somebody said she's not spending her husband's money as she used to spend on data because the data lasts for too long. Samjata George, good morning to you as well. Sami Jefio, good morning to you. Now, the two names that have come up, and I don't doubt their competencies at all, are General Thomas Opon Pepra, and people are asking and making all manner of insinuations, and Mr. Ben Doche Malo, and his qualifications and his experience around the world is not in doubt. But let me focus on General. People are suggesting that if General Opon Pepra, who was the CDS under President Akufo-Addo, has been appointed by this administration, then it means that President Akufo-Addo was naked at the time, or the government was naked at the time, because he's a big security chief. And then I ask myself, are we just interested in politicizing everything, or are we properly interested in making sure that our nation works and progresses? There are reasons that you have very good materials in this country who have decided to stay off any appointments, because as soon as you accept the appointment under a regime, you will be put in a box as somebody who is supposed to be a neutral, but you are not a neutral. And I don't know whether they mean neutral polish. These days, I don't see the people sell neutral polish anymore. But have you forgotten General Blay? General Blay, he was appointed, right? A former IGP was also appointed. If the man is qualified to go and serve, leave the man alone to go and serve. You who are making those comments with your 2 CDs megabyte thing on Facebook, can you go and serve? And I've told you that when they ask you to come and say certain things, be very careful. Think through it as well. Because you are a human being, you are not a party symbol. Do you understand me? When they send you to come and say some of the things, don't be an atasa. Be a human being, because you are not a party symbol. And we are looking for the progress of the nation. Today, key elements are telling us that, from the previous administration, are telling us that they didn't listen, they made mistakes, they are sorry, they apologize, people got it wrong, etc. Blame games are going on and on and on. Small internal contest for 5 people. So if you agree that you didn't listen, you did the wrong things in the past, you made mistakes, etc., blah, 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 and you have rendered an apology for it, you expect that this administration will also make the same mistakes. This administration will also not listen. This administration will also come and apologize in the run-up to the 2028 election. How do we move forward as a country? You see why people will steal our money and come and sit on national TV and explain it away, and they are told to go and sin no more. People will continue to steal our money because we enable people to be thieves. And that is why the streets are not happy that so far people have not been prosecuted, even though we have been told that there is empirical evidence that can nail them. And as I said before, some of them are still on social media making funny noises. They are the ones who will grow and tell your children, or their children will come and tell you that Papa and Bobra. They are the ones who will grow up and have the voice and the temerity to tell you or your children that Papa and Bobra, if the national cake is shared evenly, because at some point we couldn't find the bakery to even locate the national cake. Now we are trying to make sure that the bakery works so that the cake will be baked so that we can all share the cake. You have decided to turn yourself into an atasa. Why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we do this to ourselves? In the past, look, I sat with the 3 Ahoy brothers and their sisters in an interview when they wrote their book. And they said, under President Rawlings, it didn't matter what political color you belonged to. The question he would ask is, can he do the work? Is he qualified? Is he competent enough to do the work? Voila, you have the job. We must not limit everything to politics and be polarized about it. You have institutional heads that have been so deep into politics that a common emotional intelligence conversation about negotiation will be turned into a political football. And then they will turn around to come and apologize. Look, the Sextus, let's go. Show me the picture, the picture of GTTC. I just want to say good morning to them. Yesterday, somebody reached out to me that the head of the institution wants the side of the story head. And I said, I don't have a problem. Put out a statement so that we can give it the same prominence, or we can call you on Johnny's Bite and put the allegations to you one by one, and you can explain. I am still waiting, but I'm saying good morning to the leadership at this particular institution in the Greater Accra region. I'm just saying good morning to you. Here ends the sermon. Please call me 055-924-2717
behaving that way. But thank God the mother saw it early that, no, these boys are unusually sleepy and tired all the time. And, you know, you wonder how we can screen people in such who we bring to our homes, in whom we trust and entrust our children to, so that they don't have such behaviors or such things lacking in the background for them ready to do to your child.
Yeah, and that's really something that we'll emphasize on, because a number of mothers are working and may not have all the time to take care of their children at home. And so there needs to be that system to be able to screen who you're bringing home. But let me get your thoughts as well, No Falong. I saw you reacting to what Madam Dramankwa was saying.
So before I get into that, I'd just like to say a very good morning to all my comrades that are tuned in. Good morning to my Laura constituency, all the executives, my member of parliament. I would also like to commend NIMOS, the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations. They've been doing impressively well. I know 2 days ago they were disrupting some mining communities, illegal mining communities on the Ankobra River. Monday, they were in Huni Valley. They have completely cleared whole communities of illegal mining. They are doing very well together with the Gold Board and the Ministry of Lands. Really, really impressive work. Now, coming into this topic, when I saw the headline, I wasn't surprised because this is not peculiar to Ghana. It's caregivers creating problems, you know, in these kind of situations, even in elder care. Yes. There's been a lot of complaints over there. It's happened in the UK, it happens in the US, it happens in different countries. In Ghana, I don't think this will be the first time something like this has happened. It is the audacity with which they operated that shocks me. And imagine if the parents hadn't noticed how long this would go on. My main concern was the health implication, right? Mm-hmm. These children can literally develop addictions from what is being done to them. And it will become a long-term health problem that they will have to manage. They can develop other issues, anxiety, all sorts of complications. But I also think that humans in positions of care should be closely monitored, right? Caregivers, when you leave humans without monitoring them, there's a tendency for them to
abuse their freedom.
Yes, operate in ways that will come back to bite. For parents, I think it's very critical. One of the things I noticed was that they drag these children so they can attend to other house chores. The kids are pretty young, right? So maybe the kids needed extra care while they are working. So they need to find a way to ensure. But I mean, this was just completely extreme. For most parents, regardless of, I don't think there's anyone you can trust completely with your children apart from yourself, right? So once you have to leave them with someone else, there has to be some checks and balances just to keep your mind at ease, right? I don't think I'll leave kids with a caregiver without putting some cameras in some corners just to make sure that later you can come and take a look at, even if you trust the person, you want to make sure that nothing is really going wrong, right? So we have to look at extra ways of monitoring the people that we leave, especially, even family. I was going to say especially when they are not family, but even when you leave them with family, you can never be completely sure.
And that was even a point Nashoko made earlier when we were talking about this, that you can never be sure.
Yeah, you can never be 100%. But I also think that at least family is more comforting. You know, maybe your mother, your sisters, you know. We have to be more communal in our approach to caring for kids. Back in the day, they used to say the whole community raises the child. Now, our lives have become so narrow that it's difficult to get that kind of care, right? But we shouldn't also be shy or ashamed to approach family and say, help me. You know, like, look, I'm drowning, can you help? Because taking care of children is very difficult, especially when you have to work 9 to 5 and you're here. I mean, we have workers here who are here at 5 a.m., who are here 5:30, 6 a.m. to work. Where are you going to leave your children? I think there has to be enough checks and balances to ensure that no one is abusing that trust that you have given to them. And it might be a little expensive, but can we separate nannying from housework, right? I mean, if you have to employ a nanny to take care of the children, and I experienced this a few years ago when we were trying to hire a nanny. There was an agency we're dealing with, and they would say, some of our nannies don't do house chores. They focus on the children. And some of them are trained to focus on kids. And some are trained to do house chores. And most of the nannies who are trained to focus on kids, the only thing you can get them to do with house chores may be fixing food or things for the children. But they give so much extra care. If you have to focus on so many things at once, then you are tempted to cut corners. And that hurts the children at the end of the day. So it's all hands on deck, right? Parents have to be extra vigilant because you can never trust the nanny or whoever is taking care of the children.
Let me bring in Madam Georgina Collison. You work with the Domestic Services Workers Union. From where you sit, where do you see the problem coming from?
Thank you so very much, Beatrice, once again. Greetings to all your viewers. I appreciate this opportunity to add my voice to this particular issue. First of all, would love to say that we're not happy with this because it hurts a lot, especially when you're trying to put all domestic workers, nannies, and what have you together under one umbrella for a defined law. I am in tune and in sync with the last panelist who just spoke. Is an issue of monitoring. The issue is coming from what is the terms of references for the nanny that the businesswoman hired. Let's also note that she has 2 nannies for the twins. And it could be that there are other responsibilities that is added to the work of the nanny, and that may result into this barbaric act. Let's also not forget what is the actual pay compensation for these nannies that they might have to result in cutting corners. It is a matter of regulations. If I don't have a terms of reference as a domestic worker and you employ me, I would not know what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be a nanny for 2 boys, and then you add household chores to it. It is very, very difficult. But this is something that has gone on for over 8 months. Where is the monitoring system, especially on the part of the parents? Yes, you are busy. That's why you hired a nanny to take care of your children. But did you get them in the right organizations or in the right agencies? Are they trained? In fact, I know that one of the 2 who are arrested, one of them is a nurse.
Yes.
And so therefore, she knows what it takes to, abuse children in terms of drugs. And like I said earlier, it has to do with the issue of monitoring. And one of the problems that is hurting all of us, in fact, in all aspects of a Ghanaian life, is regulatory system. How do we regulate these people? I'm sure because the other one is a nurse, she didn't get to work, then she's forced to come and do this. She might have had other things to do. And so therefore, I have to make space for these things. And this may result into this. But it's not one-sided, it's both ways. Where we got them from, whether they are trained or not, whether they know the job, or the issue of regulation and the issue of monitoring.
So we have regulation and monitoring. We have the Children's Act that spells out how to treat children. Even in our own 1992 Constitution, I believe Article 15 or so also talks about it. So when you talk about regulation, where do you see the gap social welfare, how do you expect that to be done in conjunction with the parents so that when they are hiring somebody, there is that clarity regarding what to do and what not to do?
One issue that is causing a lot of misunderstanding is that once you employ a domestic worker, and let me put across, per the sector, majority of domestic workers, no disrespect to members and anybody who is into this work, are more often cannot read and write. So where is the education? We're lucky enough to know that one of them is a nurse, and so therefore she knows it. But does she know that there's a law backing children? Does he even know that there's an act that protects her as a nanny worker, and then there's a law that protects the child? So we might be in sync in both laws. The LI for domestic workers 2408 does not even spell out clearly issues of this matter. It just talks about the part of domestic workers, but this is to protect the employer and the employee as well. So it's just a matter of enforcement, education, monitoring, and we need to do better. But I am happy that they've been brought to book. A lot of them are in these acts just to tarnish the image of others who are genuinely in there. And I might also put across that most often than not, these agencies that employ them, some would have trainings for them, others do not, because they are interested in the percentage that they will get once the employer comes to get the nanny. And so they do all sorts of things, and this goes a long way to hurt the employer, just like the matter that we're discussing now. And I think that on our path, just like the last panelist made mention of, there need to be a space where you can say that nannies do take care of just children and even care for the aged and not do other household matters. Because I think that is the reason why they are doing this. But first of all, we need to understand from the employer's perspective whether they are solely are to take care of just the twin boys, and maybe the extra work they will do is to fix food and maybe take the bath for their children. And then we might want to know what exactly is there.
I'm coming to you again, Madam Susan Edramankwa, because she talks about monitoring and she seems to be looking at both the regulators and the parents themselves. I mentioned earlier that you're a mother. I mean, we're in a system where work is demanding so much time of parents. How do you balance the two?
As for the balance, it's a tough one. But I wanted to say that she has two.
Yes.
I don't think that she didn't recognize that having the twins will be a handful, and that's why she has two. And I'm sure that the work is then divided among them. Somebody's taking care of the twins and somebody's doing household chores.
Yeah.
And then they can switch over to do that. There is no excuse whatsoever for what the women did, the nannies did, that they are overworked and everything. If you're overworked, just tell the woman, I'm overworked. Or take care of the children, leave the housework, and when she says it, tell her that this is what happened. And then if you can't, you leave the job. But you don't say that I'm overworked or the work is too much and drag the children. There's absolutely no excuse good enough for that, especially since you're a nurse and you know that this is what happens. I mean, unless they're using the word nurse generically and not as a properly state-registered nurse, you understand? Because sometimes what we forget is that we call ward assistants and those people nurses because they have worked in the hospital before. Because for my mind, I mean, a properly state-registered nurse will be a little hesitant about this, but I mean, what shows that you can't even overdose the child sleeps and never wakes up. You understand? But I mean, I think that women want to get ahead in their careers and they have to put in the long hours to get ahead, or the economic situation is such that there have to be two incomes in the home. So mothers are forced to work. I know of several mothers who took a pay cut so that they can stay at home longer with their children because of such issues, but it's not everybody that has the luxury of taking maybe a pay cut, going for a lesser paying job so that they can spend more hours. They probably need the money. You understand? So it is, for want of a better, a necessary evil to have these domestic workers in your home helping you. You understand? And paying them. And it's not as if, yes, they are sometimes in certain situations they are poorly paid, but it is not in all situations. But the thing, who is well paid in this country? Because if you are paid a salary of even 10,000, okay, which let's say the average, this is a little above the average Ghanaian's 10,000,
yes,
and you have to pay these people 1,000 each, a month.
That's 2,000 minus other costs.
Minus other costs, you understand? And they're probably eating for free in the house. They're doing all sorts of things for free in the house. And yet you have to pay them this. You expect something. You get it. If you can afford it, you put the cameras there. But if you can't afford it, can you say that, what can I do? It's important to spend time with your children so that you notice patterns of behavior change, etc., etc. And that was a good thing that this mother noticed, that the patterns of behavior for these kids have changed.
But Madam Collins was even raising concerns about how long it took before the mother realized over
yes,
8 months.
but sometimes you are wondering, and yes, 8 months may seem a long time, but 8 months may not seem that long also, because for instance, maybe today they gave them a little bit, tomorrow they give them a lot more, and so the sleepy behavior is longer, and it's not consistent, and so you may come to meet it, you may not come to meet it, etc., etc. But then you may sometimes say, is it my imagination? These boys are a little slow and everything. So it takes a while. Yes, some people may pick it up instantly, some a little longer. We thank God that she has picked it up in the time that she has picked it up. But come to think of it, this is also an issue where we must encourage corporations and places to put in childcare. I know that in Noguchi, my director, one of her things that she wants to do, because researchers spend long hours, she wants to put up daycare for children, so that researchers are not so worried about their children, because their children are in the space in which they are. You can go and say, when I used to work in the hospital, my hospital was a baby-friendly hospital, and so we encouraging mothers to breastfeed exclusively for the 6 months. The hospital set up a daycare center for mothers who worked in the hospital to be able to send their children there. And you could always, your break time, walk over to go and breastfeed your child. And of course, they had some of the ward assistants who were there, so you could monitor your child and feel comfortable. We should encourage companies to do that. I know that now some companies are having exercise programs and things like that, looking after the welfare of the bodies of their employees. This is something that troubles mothers. You want to get the best out of the woman in your company. It is good to have a daycare place so that mothers know my child is safe. I can monitor. I can go there. I can keep an eye on my child. Spend lunch breaks with my child and things like that. And so even if it's tax breaks that the government has to give, because it goes to the welfare of children and mothers and of the society, for companies who will incorporate in their space, these childcare centers, so that mothers can have the freedom to work hard, to be productive, and also nurture their families.
Some companies may say that they don't have the luxury of setting up daycare or creches in their offices to take care of some of these issues, but I don't know how you're looking at policymakers as well, whether there could be some sort of incentives to get companies who are willing to do that to establish those in their facilities.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I'm saying. If it gives you a tax break or whatever, we can think it through. And if the company is determined to look after the welfare of its employees, especially the woman, I think they would find the space. And when there's a will, there's a way. You understand? Or we'll fashion some policy out such that the women can spend more time with their families and still get ahead in their career. Because you find out that as a woman, our socialization is such that if the two of you have jobs and somebody has to take the child to the hospital, sometimes it falls on the mother, because it's for the son. I can't do anything. So it's the mother, who will end up doing some of these things. Yes, some men are doing some fantastic job in terms of taking those things away. But invariably, and especially when it comes to mothers of the lower social tiers, they take ultimate responsibility because the man has left already. He thinks that you are sitting in the market and everything. So hey, you are the one supposed to go and do, or your job is lesser paying. So you do that sacrifice of taking the child to the hospital, doing this, doing that. So it's our biological function and our socialization has made it very, very difficult for women who want a career progression. And so domestic workers are actually required. You understand? They are needed. I was just looking. They are recognized in the Ghana Labour Act. They are recognized. But of course, it's poorly regulated, and so they are also left to drift. But I always say that no matter how poor your salary is, your pay is, you don't resort to wickedness to say that because I'm poorly paid, I will be mean and I'll be wicked. It goes to show your character, because there are people who are poorly paid and whatever, and yet they would give their best, and because they are good people who do the good things.
Yeah, Madam Falong, devastating news. And if we are looking at the details given us by the police, and the fact that one of them is a nurse, it presupposes that if you're assuming that perhaps the mother thought of the fact that, being a nurse, if my child is in an emergency, at least you'll be able to give her, give the boy some first aid. And yet this has happened. Yeah. And what do you have to say, or in addition to what Madam Susan has said, regarding the heart of people and really the kind of people that we are employing?
I think I already mentioned that you can never really trust anyone, right? And the fact that she's a nurse makes it more alarming. That's why I was asking, what kind of nurse is she, right? Maybe someone who just studied some caregiving somewhere and has gone to wear a uniform, and then she's calling herself a nurse. Is she an actual trained or registered nurse? Because if she is, then she would know that what she's doing is going to be harmful to them health-wise. And I agree with her when she says that there's no excuse, really. There's no excusing what has been done. But at the end of the day, unfortunately, the burden falls on parents, because you are the most affected, right? Once they have accepted, even if you are paying them 500 cedis a month, and they've accepted that they are going to do the job, then they owe you the responsibility of doing the job right, whether they think they are paid well or not. Once they've accepted it, they've signed a contract, they say this is, even if it's a verbal contract, I'm paying you this and you are taking care of my children, great. You also, there are 2 nannies, right? 2 nannies for 2 children, which means that between the 2 of them, they can effectively juggle the children. But who knows exactly what they were doing? Maybe they were all rushing to do the same thing at the same time. They were not able to successfully separate their duties and say, okay, you are doing this at this time, and I am doing this at this time. So perhaps
no clarity on
the roles, the specific roles that should, they both should be involved in. Again, that falls back on the parent, right? You have to sit them down and say, this is a timetable. And there are some domestic workers that you can't just assume that they know what to do. You have to literally take them through it step by step and say, you're doing this at 8 a.m. for the children, you are doing this at 9:30 a.m., you're doing this at 12, you're doing this at 12:30. And I still insist, regardless of how much instructions, directions you have given them, monitor. The equipment for monitoring might be expensive, so it's not more expensive than your health and the safety of your children. I think there are some small cameras you can get even for like 400 cedis and all of that. Just plug it in somewhere. If you have some internet, you connect it to your phone, at any point in time, you just check in.
I know some parents who call in.
Yeah.
Like almost every hour, checking up on the children.
Oh,
and
but
the nannies
if
as
they are
well.
mixing something for the children, how will you know? You're calling, but the time that you are off, and it's become such a huge burden for parents, ultimately mothers, because you're at work, and every second you are checking your phone, you're calling on video. You can't even focus at work. So I absolutely support her advice that there should be some child care facilities in institutions, right? A few years ago, was it 2020 or 2021, the Alliance for Women in Media, which I don't know if you're a part of, we undertook a research with the University of Ghana's Communications Department, and this was on the status of Ghanaian women in media. One of the findings, and some of the recommendations included childcare facilities in workplace, in media houses, in this situation, because it was a media report specifically to do with media. Because some of the findings included, we realized that there were fewer women as you go higher in media. And one of the reasons for that was because as women get older in media, they get married, they have children. It becomes very difficult to juggle. When you're at TV3 and you have to be at work at 5:30 a.m., it's okay when you're younger and you don't have any much responsibilities. But once you get married, more responsibilities. Once you have children, you have 1, 2, 3. It becomes difficult to juggle. So imagine that if you had childcare facilities. I know some facilities, some institutions in this country that have childcare, private institutions. Maybe they have a bit more revenue, right? But I remember the Alliance for Women in Media and the Communications Department actually offered to draw up some of these consultancies for free, as part of their contribution to some of the institutions. So media houses, if you want to set up something like that, just approach the Alliance for Women in Media and the University of Ghana's Communications Department. They've done a lot of research on this, and they'll be able to help because the findings are there, and the recommendations were well publicized. I don't know if every media house was given some of the recommendations, but this is a huge issue. And it might seem like it doesn't affect men, but men are part of the family.
Indeed.
And if these things are happening, the fact that it took 8 months in itself is very alarming. But you can't really blame the mother because it takes a while, right? Maybe it accumulates. The medication accumulates before you start seeing the side effects. But the alarming part of that is, after 8 months, a lot of damage must have been done for you to be able to notice that the children are extra slow, the children are not as attentive, the children are not performing.
You're already seeing the effect.
And when they were mixing these medications, what was the dosage? Were they even paying? Who even informed them that you should mix this amount with, water or with food and give it to the children? Did they even seek any advice from anyone? So no matter how you look at it, at the end of the day, they were harming the children. But we can look at it in different ways and try to ensure that you are not as badly hit by the negligence of a caregiver, whether it's for your parents, whether it's for yourself, your spouse, your children. You just have to be consistently alert and looking for ways to mitigate.
And in fact, that's why I was going to what extent does this affect confidence in getting nannies, especially when you don't really have a choice?
So are nannies worried about this as professionals? Because this is reputational damage, right, for nannies, for house helps. It means that now the parents that particular mother, she's never going to trust any nanny or caregiver or house help ever again. And it might even reflect in the way that she'll treat subsequent caregivers. She can't say she's never going to go for any, she needs the help, right? Because it's either that or even if you resign and you are a full-time stay-at-home mom, you still need help. You can't manage alone, with house chores and the children and, all of that. How is it going to impact on how she sees nannies? She's going to constantly be on her guard. She's going to constantly be suspicious, and she'll probably pass that on to whoever she employs in the future. I don't know if these nannies were gotten from a specific agency, because then she could also sue that agency. They are responsible for ensuring that the nannies that came to her are well trained and are able to deliver on the duty that she has employed them to deliver on. I don't know if there was a breakdown of their job description. The agency should ensure that they are trained enough for that and are delivering results, because at the end of the day, you are paying for a service. Once you are upholding your end of the bargain, which is payment, they should also be upholding their end of the bargain by rendering that service in a professional manner.
In a professional manner.
Yeah. Were they trained? If they were not trained, once you bring them in, maybe give them a small crash course in how you want things done at home. But at the end of the day, they still have to be penalized and maybe criminally charged for what that they have done to the children.
And that's why I was going to, Madam Collison, if you're still on the line with us. Earlier, you broke down the regulations, but Madam Susan Edramankwa also added a bit about the Labour Act and really what our responsibilities are. Moving forward, how do you expect this to be handled? Madam Fallon just talked about really penalizing these, perhaps to serve as a deterrent, really, to other people who may be thinking of doing it or perhaps are doing it but are not yet caught.
Beatrice, thank you so very much. I think that this is one of the main reasons why the union exists, because these people, we can say that they are demons. The union exists to train and give the proper requisite training for jobs like this. Over the time, for the past 2 weeks, I've gotten in my mails people requesting for nannies and people requesting for domestic workers. But the question I asked them, what are your criteria? And they seem not to really bother about, oh, I just need a young person, I just need, it worries if we are coming with your request without giving your requisite proper information on what you want. This is why the union exists. Well, we're also interested in bringing domestic workers to employers who can really do the work, but you need to put them under one umbrella. The issue of going to people's homes, because these are private individuals that they will allow nannies and domestic workers into their homes to work for them. You cannot go and fish them out and give them the necessary trainings. Some agencies, not all of course, are interested in the profits they will make rather than giving the appropriate trainings to these people to come into your homes. And it's very dangerous if we don't look at these things. One of the things that the union is doing is, because of the nature of the work being very informal, like I said earlier in my submissions, a lot of them are not well educated. They permit me to say they cannot read and write, but they can do the work. What can we do to help them meet the standards? There are workshops who educate them on laws. Now, if you come through the union to get a nanny, you have all the right responsibilities to sue the union if there are issues like this. But we support what the Ghana Police Service has done. We are with the woman who is in this deep stress. We condemn the acts of these nannies that are in the news now, and we do not see to see this, a lot of these things happening, because we are declined in getting these proper domestic workers, because you might not know, they are just regular people who need jobs or who need money to have their daily meal and what have you. So they'll resort in any other agencies that are being employed, and they might not know what will be at stake for them. But what we are really saying is that if you're a domestic worker and you find yourself across the country, you might want to, join yourself with the union. The union is greatly affiliated to the Trade Union Congress, TUC Ghana, also affiliated to International Domestic Workers Federation in Geneva, and we clearly deal with laws, because currently we have regulation LI 2408, that is the domestic workers regulation, which the minister has put in place operationalization structures to make sure that we curb these acts that are in the system, while we look for the proper domestic workers rendering services of not of this nature, but to save the employer and the employee as well. well.
So that would be for those who perhaps will want to pass through your union. Assuming that I just wanted to get somebody from my family or the village, what would you recommend in terms of what kind of, at least, regulations we should put in place to also protect that area as well?
Once it is through the union, there's a regulation that covers all domestic workers as well as the employer. So the Labour Department is one of the key stakeholders, as well as the Labour Commission and the Ghana Ghana Employers Association, I beg your pardon, as well. So therefore, if you would want to get these domestic workers, probably you might pass through the union to get a proper trained domestic worker, because our members, they, if not at all, they know the law, they know what they stand to lose should they do these kind of activities. Some is not just abusing children, some would go to the extent of stealing your valuables. And they know it, not that they don't know. Once you are part of the union or the union recommends you, and you found yourself in these kind of situations, the law will deal with you. And we let them know. And so therefore, we encourage all Ghanaians. We do not have the entire domestic workers in Ghana. And it's across Africa, places like Kenya, South Africa. It is very, very, very appalling. And they have bigger organizations that takes care of all these things. But yes, still, they have laws. Yes, still, they face issues like this. In South Africa, which they have the biggest domestic worker economy there, they even face these issues. And it is high time employers help employees and employees to help employers, because it's both ways. Not to say that all the time is employers that is helping the employees. Once I'm rendering a service and you're paying me for it, it is my honest duty to do diligence in whatever it is that, whatever kind of service it is that I'm to render for you.
So let me ask you this before I come to my panel in studio. The other side of the question I asked earlier is, should there be a system that makes it mandatory that even if I'm bringing somebody from my village or from my family, I should still be required to go through some sort of legal or regulatory guidance so that I'm protected?
Well, Beatrice, this question it looks very highly impossible once it's coming from the village, because who knows, maybe it is your niece or maybe family related that you are bringing to. The village person might not know what to do and how to go about it, but once he or she is in Accra, they are subjected to come and work. They might not know that there is an ally that protects both the employer and the employee. But what we're saying is that once you're a domestic worker and you are being employed by the employer, it is the duty of the employer and the third party that is giving the domestic worker to the employer and the domestic worker herself or the nanny herself to sign a contract. Signing a contract, it was put in the law that there's a draft there that talks about what the employer wants, what the employee wants, and what is being expected by law for you to do. So once you go contrary to the law, you are dealt with, and it is understandable in both ways that once there's a contract signed, then you cannot go against the law. Once you go against the law will deal with you. But if you bring somebody through the village, I'm sorry to say, it's pretty difficult to, get the protection of the law. But how many employees know that there's an ally that protects domestic workers and themselves? How many people know? They do not. I'm not sure that your panelists would have even been come across the ally that protects both employer and the employee. A lot of Ghanaians do not know. It is one of the responsibility of the union to do more advocacy to tell the world or to tell Ghanaians that, look, once we are looking for a law that protects us, it is also in the interest of the employer that these activities, once there's a law and I'm aware of it, we all do our respective duty and responsibilities as well.
Thank you very much, Madam Collison. Your final word on this before...
I was come to say that the union needs to do more awareness creation, especially to mothers, but and also not just inform us, but also help to establish a proper referencing situation. So these women, their faces are hidden now. Maybe after they are convicted of a crime, their faces will not be hidden anymore. But there has to be a proper referencing system in place so that next time if she's going to get employed again as a nanny, she has this history behind her, and maybe she may never work again with children. Yeah. There has to be put in place a system that ensures that when you have abused the trust in which you have been given, in terms of especially the vulnerable, in terms of children, you're never put in that position again. So maybe next time she finds a totally different work to do, and not be left with children alone. And I don't know whether the union does a lot of psychological evaluations, because sometimes in these psychological evaluations, corporations do it. They put out these questionnaires to employers periodically just to see what kind of psychological makeup they have of their workers and how a worker will react in a certain situation. There isn't much that you can do if you bring the person from the village. But I think that, again, the union being an organized group can do that creation, that even create that awareness, that even if you bring the person from the village, these are the steps you should go through to ensure that the person that you have brought into your home is actually safe enough to be looking after your children, or safe enough to be in your environment at all.
Indeed. Please, your final word on this.
I was also wondering why their faces were covered. But I'm hoping that eventually we know exactly who these women are.
Perhaps it says you're guilty and you're innocent until proven guilty, yes.
But at the end of the day, I believe that all parents want to know their names and their faces, so that if they show up at your doorstep tomorrow asking for employment, you are not endangering your family, right? She talks about if you bring the person from the village. I think that for our own protection, there should always be some clear arrangement. Even if the person is unlettered and you've just gone to drag the person from the village, they've never been to any school, maybe have, even if it's an oral agreement with a witness present, so you know what you are giving in return for what they are also giving you. Look, some of these issues will create complications for you later. We've had people take them abroad only to end up they themselves in jail, because this person can wake up at any time and accuse you of modern day slavery, or accuse you of forcing them into an arrangement that they did not agree to, or for using them without paying them. And sometimes we have these informal arrangements with relatives or people from our village. You're not really paying them, but you are doing a lot for them. Have it in writing. We know what you are giving them, because when the accusation comes, it's out of your hands. You will suffer reputational damage. You might even, in a more open society, you might end up in jail at no fault of yours, right? So you have to have these agreements in writing. I've never heard about the union. So the union can also do a bit of, advertise at least among parents or in places that you will find parents, so they are aware that this is the process they need to go through. I think with giving institutions, ensuring that they have childcare facilities, it's a matter of incentivizing them, right? It's also like a policy direction. Even within the institution, it should be a policy direction. That's why I mentioned that there are people who have offered their services for free to help draft these kind of policies. So institutions have to make deliberate effort to ensure that this is part of their policy. Maybe discuss with their workers, maybe we take away a bit of your allowance or something and it goes into this, right? But you benefit from it. Imagine how more relaxed you'd be at work, knowing that your toddler is just a few steps away and you can just pop in and, go back to work and you're able to even focus more because you're not on the phone, back and forth, confused. I also pulled up the LI that she was talking about. It's under the Labour Act, LI 2408, under the Labour Act of 2003. You will find it's a regulation that is specifically created to address domestic work. And I find some interesting provisions here that I'm sure a lot of employers of domestic help did not even know about. There's actually, the wage should not be below the daily minimum wage. So the minimum wage that government has set, it applies to your domestic workers. You cannot pay them below what government has stipulated as the minimum wage. You need to have a written contract, and then you have to deposit a copy of that contract at the district labor office within a month of employing that person. I don't think a lot of us know this.
I mean, to an extent that it was actually done in 2020. That's like 5 years now.
Right. You know, and overtime must be paid. If the worker works beyond the agreed working hours, this will be very dicey for a lot of people. Because sometimes when the person is living in your house, you think that they have no time, there's no rest time, there's no sleep time. You can barge into their rooms in the middle of the night, come and do this for me, come and do that. No, you know, they actually require daily rest of at least 8 consecutive hours within a 24-hour period. So you have to ensure that your domestic help is also getting, they are entitled to annual leave of 15 working days per calendar year with full pay. They also have rights to maternity leave, according to the... Look, I don't think that a lot of people are aware of these provisions.
And there's even the social security deductions and other mandatory deductions that are supposed to be done.
You have to be aware.
I mean, the thing that the maternity leave, I mean, as soon as you find out she's pregnant, you let her go.
That's what happens, yes.
A lot of employees are not even aware of this.
Wow.
So that
I mean, but if you let her go, I'm not sure there's much that she can do about it. She has to do for that.
Because
it's discriminatory, but hey.
Yeah. And they don't know their rights. They themselves do not even know their rights. But if there
that was the point she was making earlier, that a lot of them are not literate like that. They
are
can't
not
read
aware.
and write. Yes.
So imagine if they knew their rights, and you also know your rights as an employer. Once you enter into this written contract, it's protecting both of you. Because when you sack her for getting pregnant, she can pick up the contract and go to the labor office and say, I'm coming to, report my employer.
Well, I mean, but you see, the disadvantage is that she said, I'm not in, and I cannot take care of a pregnant woman. So I said she should go. When she finishes getting pregnant, she'll come back. When she finishes getting pregnant, then
when she finishes, but you have to pay her while she's gone.
Maternity leave.
That's it, yeah.
No. So you pay
just as your employer has to pay you for maternity leave, but you don't let her go. She's able to work until when she goes for leave, right? Yeah. So at least she'll get the 3 months or whatever months that you are giving to her. But she works in the meantime. I'm sure she can still do some of her domestic work up until when she's almost due, right? I think being aware of the laws and the regulations that govern these transactions, because these are human transactions at the end of the day, it protects all of us.
It protects all of us. Let me get your thought on our next topic, which is the 68% vacancy in terms of teachers in rural areas. And I mean, this obviously wouldn't come to you as a new thing. We have places where a whole school has about 1 or 2 teachers, and now we are getting like real data on what's happening in the northern region. What are your preliminary thoughts?
I believe that the Ministry of Education is better suited to speak to this, but when you look at the gap that you're dealing with, the study was conducted, it wasn't just on the northern region, but at the end of the day, one of the gravest findings had to do with the northern region. And when you look at a gap of 68% teacher shortage, that's more than half. That's big. That's almost 70, which means that you only have about some 32% active supply of teachers. That directly affects teaching and learning in these districts. And for the northern region, I think for a very long time, I think this was conducted in 2023, the study. For many, many years, this has been a problem. It's not a new problem in the northern region. We have the same issue even with healthcare workers who are posted to the northern region. A lot of them just refuse to go. Even national service, when they post them, a lot of people to the northern region, they don't want to go.
Because of the prevailing conditions.
Yes, but the conditions are not that bad. There are a lot of people who actually go. Recently, a few people contacted me about changing their postings. And some of them had been posted to the northern region. And I said, what's wrong with the northern region? It's service to the nation. It shouldn't be done in your, comfort and preference. Go and serve the nation. Believe me, there are many teachers and many service persons who were posted to the northern region who went and ended up enjoying it and having the time of their lives. Some of them finished, they don't even want to come back. They want to stay. The cost of living is really friendly. The people are friendly, loving, very, very peaceful, and they will make you enjoy your stay. Some of them even go out of their way to do things for you just to make your stay easier. But the problem persists. Now, I think some of the stakeholders are requesting that recruitment and posting should be decentralized because it's done at the...
That's where they say the
national,
problem is.
Exactly.
Yes.
And if we have identified that the problem is with the, centralization of recruitment and postings, so I think it's a great idea. The ministry should be able to look at the recommendations and say, this will make it better. Even if, start maybe a pilot phase and see how it directly impacts the supply of teachers and ultimately learning in classrooms. Because you want to give students in the North a fair advantage at learning and being able to compete on the national level. At the end of the day, these students also want to come to big schools. When they finish their, JSSs and SSs, they want to come to, the university, they want to come to secondary schools over here. And they should be able to have the choice, and be competitive enough to compete with their other colleagues who are in better placed zones. The district education directors are saying, give us the mandate to be able to recruit and post. And if we are able to recruit and post locally, we know the areas that need which specific teacher and the specialization and skills that they require. And I think that is a great call. If they are able to recruit and post, then there's a higher supply of these teachers to these institutions. If you recruit the teacher locally and post them, the chances of them refusing to go are very low.
That's the area.
Yes. I mean, if you are in Tamale and you are recruiting from Tamale and posting to, Tamale and the surrounding districts, you have a higher compliance rate. And to be fair, when you post these teachers and they say they won't go, you can't do anything about it. Sometimes, before you even realize they've not gone, it's taking time, and the students have lost out on learning. I think that it's a brilliant call. We always have to review the way things are done. If we find new and better ways of doing it that ultimately give us better results, why not?
And indeed, we'll be speaking to Wadad Saibu, who actually is with the institution or the agency that did this research that we are talking about now. But this issue is coming up because actually the Pre-Tertiary Education Act 2020 Act 1049 is actually one that emphasizes decentralization. And so the issue is that we are foregoing this. What is currently happening because of political interference and others contradict this very act that allows decentralization of this entire process. But Madam Susan Edward-Mankwa, let me just get your thought, because again, when I saw this story, what I thought of was the pressure on the 32% there, and even the quality of education that they will be giving these children.
It definitely affects the quality of education. If you are looking at the SDG 4, talking about quality education, and this will affect learning outcomes, poor quality education. And so the effect goes beyond the classroom, because then you have people, functional illiterates, the person has finished school all right, and yet and can't read and write. But if the decentralization is to actually take off, then we must have community-based teacher training schools. You understand? So the bigger teacher training schools should have satellite schools there, because if there's no teacher training school there and they go outside and for their teacher training, I mean, they're not going to come back. But if the teacher training school is there, they will attend the teacher training school over there, and then of course they're already stationed there, and it's easier to post them. I think that to look at it also, you have to look at some of the situations in which you find the schools themselves. I mean, if you are a teacher and class 1 to 3 are all in the same classroom, and it's just a poor condition for you to give off your best, etc. And it's a vocation which must be done with heart and soul. And so the poor conditions just don't enable you to put in the best that you can put in. Because I'm even saying class 1 to 3. I'm sure there are some that are class 1 to 6. They are all in the same block or in the same classroom, and we see it.
Some do not even have classrooms.
Some don't have classrooms. Some have a wall that is falling apart, and it's a safety issue. Who wants to be in such a condition where when you go to work and it rains, there's the possibility of the building falling down and you getting hurt? You understand? So nobody wants to go. So it's not just a matter of posting teachers there or decentralizing. We must also look at the conditions in which these teachers are to do their work. There has to be the ambience for them to teach these young, impressionable minds and for us to benefit as a society. And, we have to look at several things. I know that some of the mission hospitals used to do what they call a rural allowance, so that if you were in the rural area, you were given a rural allowance. And
that's in addition to what the GS will be giving you?
Yes, that's an addition to what the GS will give you. So if you opt to be in the rural area, then you have a rural allowance. So if you're a teacher and you want to be in Accra and your pay is 5,000, if you want to be in Agroyesum, then your pay is 5,000 plus maybe 1,000 cedis.
What did you?
Agroyesum.
Okay, where is that?
Somewhere in that Ashanti region. Somewhere in that Ashanti region.
That's a community.
Yes, it's a community. So there has to be that incentive. Or, teachers, they don't see a career path. You get it. So you say, well, if you go and spend 2 or 3 years in the district, then we will find a scholarship for you to go and improve and be this or be that, so that at least you get 2 years out of people going into a rural community all the time, so that they can benefit from a scholarship scheme that is there. I think that the incentives have to be there to enable people to be comfortable, because people want to live at least a comfortable life, not necessarily a rich life, but they want to live a comfortable life. So we have to look at it holistically in terms of the poor conditions there. The communities themselves also need to value the education and say, what can we do to keep the teachers here? You understand? What can we do to make sure that our children don't have to walk miles and miles and miles to get an education, and that the teacher here is comfortable enough to live here?
So what I hear you say is beyond the GES, the district assemblies and even other institutions that have nothing to do with education should take it up in such areas, so they are able to make the lives of teachers more comfortable.
Not even the community, the community, because these are your children. And when the children grow up to be somebody, they would always remember that, look, it was the community that sacrificed for me to be here. And so, there has to be the revolving goodness in terms of, as a community, we help to push these people through school by our sacrifices. And then when they get somewhere, they sacrifice so that other children can do it. So we must not look at just GS. Yes, the government must take the stand. The government must be an enabler and a facilitator to help the communities do this. And also, the government must do its part. And like I said, a rural allowance, a career progression path. You know, these are things that are within the power of the government to do. Community-based teacher training, you know, schools. So if I'm a teacher training school in Agomenya, you know, then I would have a satellite school somewhere. The universities do it. The university have satellite campuses everywhere. And you are assured that you are getting a good university education despite the fact that you are not on the main campus. And I think the teacher training colleges should be encouraged to do stuff like that.
Let me come to Wedad Saibu, Director of School for Life. You did this study that we are talking about now. Madam Susan Edramankwa has just spoken about the conditions. Earlier, what we read had to do with the problem with implementing the decentralization policy, as it were, and also sometimes interference, political interference. Give us a clearer picture regarding really what the problem is, why we have just 32% of teachers in the northern parts of the country.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. My very best wishes to the listeners and viewers of your show. Just to put this discussion in context, I mean, School for Life as an organization has been working in rural communities over 30 years now in the education space. And our focus has been to facilitate and also promote access to education for the underprivileged, the underserved, and those in the rural communities. And we have experienced and observed over the years the deplorable conditions that learners and teachers have to go through, and its implications also on learning outcomes. So it is as a result of these experiences that recently we decided to conduct this study, because we noted that at the heart of the provision of quality education is the teacher. And the Ministry of Education and the Ghana Education Service on its part, in an attempt to address, the teacher availability or non-availability challenge, came out with a lot of policies, including the teacher rationalization and deployment policy, just to bridge the gap between rural and urban or well-to-do areas, because it has noted over the years that the teacher distribution has been unevenly skewed against the rural areas. And as you have observed in the research, about 68% of communities in rural areas lack teachers. There's a deficit of up to about 68% in terms of teachers across the rural areas where we conducted this study. So essentially, the reason we conducted it was just to establish the effects or the impact of the teacher rationalization and deployment policies on learning outcomes, on actually also bridging the equity gap between rural and urban in terms of teacher provision or teacher deployment, and also how that is also enhancing accountability. And we have noted through this research that the teacher rationalization and deployment policies has been implemented over 7 years now, but its effects hasn't really been that much in terms of the positive effects in relation to bridging the gap between the rural areas and the urban areas. And then also quality education provision in these areas remain very low because we've also noted in the study that about 70% of learners who took BEC in 2020 in 4 out of the 6 districts that we conducted this research actually scored aggregate 30 and above. Oh, wow. 70%, a whole 70%, you can imagine. And then also we also noted with deep concerns that the centralized system of deployment and posting have also not done so good to dealing with the issue, because we have noted that a lot of teachers who have been posted centrally have found reason to, as it were, maybe not to even go and also seek for reposting elsewhere without the knowledge of the district education directorates or district education directors who are supposed to be manning and directing the educational affairs in the district. And we thought that something need to be looked, the whole country, especially the policy implementers and policy actors, need to actually take a second look at this issue. It's really a huge concerns, because one of the effects or one of the challenges to quality education is actually attributable to this particular problem.
And indeed, you just mentioned the fact that over 70% of them, if I got you correctly, are failing with aggregate 30 and the rest. That's
and
quite,
above, yes.
Yes, that's quite serious. But again, if you can tell us the kind of pressure also on the teachers, because you just have less than half of them in rural areas teaching these children who are failing eventually.
Yeah, I mean, that it is obvious, because the Ghana Education MIS data suggests that in the northern part of Ghana, a lot of the districts in northern region, I mean, when I say northern region, I'm talking about the regions in the northern part of Ghana, including northern, upper east, Savannah, northeast, and upper west. A lot of the districts communities in these areas, in terms of pupil-teacher ratio, are doing highly below the average, the national averages. And if ideally it is suitable for a teacher to handle about 35 learners, and you have places where you would even have, districts that would have an average of about 81 over 80 to learners to a teacher. How are they able to effectively handle teaching and learning in the classroom? How are they able to ensure that targeted support that some of the learners will be requiring will get them? So it actually puts a lot of stress and a lot of toll on the teachers, and they are doing so much under the conditions that they are faced with. But it is not enough because of the challenges, because whatever they are doing are not felt, because the results, the learning outcomes are not actually encouraging, and it is because of these issues. So as for the teachers, and imagine a teacher, the emotional trauma and emotional stress on the teacher after you have done all your efforts throughout the maybe at the JSS level, throughout the 3-year period of the learners, only for them to go and write the BEC and acquiring aggregate 30 and above. Then it is like you are not just doing anything, and that also psychologically have a huge effects on the abilities of the teachers to continue to do their best.
Let me get your final thought in like 30 seconds, really, what you think can be done to at least resolve this problem moving forward.
So for us, as we have also recommended in on the basis of the research that we've conducted, we are saying that, one, the centralized system currently which is being practiced needs to be looked at again. we have noted that if the teacher deployment and posting process and rationalization process is decentralized, it will do us a lot of good because it will put the district education directory in a position to be able to know, to post teachers and also exact accountability on them. They would be able to monitor areas where schools where teachers are required and what categories of teachers are needed in those areas and be able to post appropriately because they understand the context and they know the critical challenges that these communities are facing. They are able to tell the vacancies and which, in real time and which teachers are needed and easily also just place them there. Secondly, we have also noted that previously, because when the postings and deployment was actually at the hands of the district, at the district level, district assemblies were able to also provide scholarship and bond teachers for a number of years. But because currently the centralization, the postings are not done centrally, then it actually takes away that kind of, or it renders the bonding scheme or bonding system the district assembly used to do very ineffective. Because if I bond a teacher and will not have a say in whether or not they are posted to the places where we want them to, how do we even bond them for the number of years that they are supposed to be? So these are also some of the challenges, because for those who were usually bonded, they are actually from the areas, and once they are in the areas, even with the way, earlier before I joined, I listened to the conversations where the issues about the deplorable conditions in the communities were discussed, and as one of the reasons or the causes for why teachers do not want to stay there. But if teachers who are actually from those areas are posted to these areas, they will see every reason to be there, because at least they are already from the communities and they are familiar with the challenges there. So we think that the centralized system, we are calling for a decentralized system of deploying teachers and posting teachers. We are also call on the government and relevant stakeholders to, as it were, also look into how we can also look at even the general development of rural areas, so that at least social amenities, basic social amenities that are supposed to make life a bit comfortable in these communities are provided, and that will see teachers also attracted to these areas. Lastly, I also want to echo one of the sentiments of your panel about the community's involvement, and that is what actually we have been doing, trying to encourage communities, facilitate communities to take responsibility and ownership of some of these processes, so that they are also in a position to help create the enabling environment in the communities for teachers to want to stay in these communities and work.
Thank you so much, Madam Wedat Saibu, Director, School for Life, for giving us additional information on the study you did recently. Let me just read these messages before I come for your final word. Prince Nanaya York says, TV3 Ghana. In Ghana, the challenge lies in taking action. While we have laws and regulations, the issue is their enforcement. Let's be a proactive nation rather than allowing policies and laws to remain unenforced. And there is Stephen Penn from WA. He says, good morning, B. My regard to my sister from Ermon, okay. The problem of shortage of teachers in rural Ghana has to do with every teacher wanting to live in urban Ghana. There's a glut in the towns. Workers who go on transfer to other places will prefer their spouses to live with them. So you can see congestion in the towns. The implementation of the 20% salary top-up for rural workers has been on paper all these years. It must be actualized to attract teachers to rural Ghana. Stephen.
Incentives. It goes back to incentives.
Exactly, yes.
Yes. But she did mention that they had some scholarship schemes they were giving while bonding the teachers, right? I think that the problem is not with the availability of teachers, because when you go to the northern region, it actually has a number of teacher training institutions. They have Baga Baga, they have one in Navrongo, John Bosco, they have Bimbila Training College. They have my mother used to teach at Tamale Teacher Training College when we were children. So they have quite a number of institutions there that are training teachers. It is important to make the locals empowered enough to say, okay, this teacher was trained here. We have a need for teachers in this community. Why train the person? And then the national level will take the person somewhere else. I mean, if you're bringing someone from Accra, Kumasi, elsewhere, and the person finds it difficult to come, why not post some of the locals? Let us post them, because it's easier. This is the communities that they are from. There's nothing new about the community to them. And some of them are more inclined. Some of them even want to stay. They are not looking to go elsewhere. I think that is a great call. I joined my voice to School for Life. That's
School for Life, yes.
I joined my voice to them, and I call on the Education Ministry to at least give them some audience. I don't know if they've already presented their findings to the Education Minister, Honorable Haruna Idrisu. He's an action man. Someone said one of the problems is the action.
Yes.
Haruna Idrisu is an action man. And if the findings and the concerns are legitimate, of course, they will be willing to institute the changes that are required. So at the end of the day, there's an improvement in teaching, learning, and in learning outcomes.
Madam Susan.
I mean, what we have to realize that the problem there is a problem for all of us. It's not because what do you call it? If we have poorly educated people up north, what means that they can always come down south and be here, you know. So it's all of us our problem, and so we have to look at it holistically, and what are the things that we have to do. Again, it's not just about education, it's also about what kind of infrastructure is available to them. So yes, the education minister will take hold of it, but hey, the health minister has a part to play, the road and infrastructure minister, the employment minister has, yes. They all have a part to play in this problem, and ensuring that they work hand in hand. We have to look, apart from recruitment, strategies, what kind of retention strategies are we going to put into place once we get them there. It's not enough to recruit them and get them, but how are we going to be able to retain them there? So what kind of professional development schemes are we going to...
on housing.
Works on housing, definitely. But, when they get there, what kind of professional development pathway do we have? Do we send trainings to their doorstep? Are the trainings focused maybe in Tamale, in Bolga, but do we take the trainings to, what did you mention right now? The name that... The name that the gentleman said, and she had to correct it. Edmond.
Yes.
We take the training to Edmond so that the teachers in that vicinity can have training, the same career training that you are giving to people in Tamale or in Wa. They are getting in Edmond. You understand? We need to look at this. And what kind of motivation are we going to motivate them? I mean, yes, people say a teacher's reward is in heaven. No, we want the reward right here. At least we want some of the rewards right here. Yes. It's a vocation, and anybody who picks up a vocation, must be encouraged to stay, because vocations, by their very nature, are very difficult.
You talked about their hearts and souls all being involved, so they need to be able
we need that for our young minds, because in this globalization, children elsewhere are so smart. Our children are smart. We should give them the enable environment for them to compete in the world.
Thank you so much, Madam Susan Edramankwa, Executive Secretary, National Interest Movement. Thank you for being here, and great to see you again. And also to you, Madam Nung Falung, National Communications Team Member of the governing NDC. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us.
And we had earlier as well, Madam Georgina Collison, General Secretary of the Domestic Services Workers Union, who joined us via video call, and as well the woman we just ended that conversation with, Madam Wedad Saibu, who is the Director, School for Life. Thank you for joining us and for speaking to us, joining this panel. Thank you very much to Ajoayoboa Achado for my costume. Very beautiful one. Thank you so much. You can find her 1 Levite Avenue, Achado. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, let's celebrate this Christmas holidays like never before. Book 2 nights and get the 3rd night free with all meals inclusive, starting from 4,500 cedis for a couple. Package offer guests free welcome drinks, access to all in-house facilities, swimming pool, gym, cinema with popcorn, board games, snooker, etc., live band, brass band, DJ performances, etc. You also will enjoy free airport pickup from Takoradi on weekends. Terms and conditions apply. Well, fun activities include a tour of our beautiful facility with a golf cart, splash playground for kids, also in-house Uncle's Carnival, sip paint, bicycle ride, boat ride to Maha Village, jet ski, banana boat, party bus ride, also night club, bonfire night, variety night. There will be trips as well to Inzulezu, Fort Apollonia, Ankasa Forest, Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Home, etc. Remember that early bird discount, you can book and pay before the 31st of this month, October, and enjoy about 20% extra discount. Now, if you book your appointment before 31st of November, you will enjoy about 10% discount. Extra discount, palm trees, good vibes, the perfect holiday. You can call for your reservation now to avoid disappointment. The landline is 030-3977-773. Now, you can reach them on the mobile phone 054-012-4114. WhatsApp 050-157-0684. Email sm@maharesort.com. On social media handles at Maha Resort, and also website www.maharesort.com. You're still here on New Day on TV3. Stay with us.